Flight Opportunities Program. He is currently the Chief Technology Officer at Spaceonova, a tech startup in the field of space. And he is also the founder of National Space Society USA, Mumbai chapter. Today, he is studying mechanical engineering at the AP Shah Institute of Technology in Thane, and his startup Spaceonova is a Mumbai-based space education startup founded just last year in 2020. Planning real-life analog missions, Mohite is currently working with citizen science astronauts around the world, as well as the Colorado-based company Space Nation, to plan a mission in 2022 with Ireland or the Utah Desert in the US as possible locations. He has been advocating for the planet's well-being and representing India on a global scale. So that's a little bit of description about Akshat. Now I would like to ask you, Akshat. So to kick things off, can you tell the audience about your journey thus far and about how you became a citizen scientist astronaut trainee? That's a very big achievement, in my opinion. Yes, the stage is yours, Akshat.
Okay, thank you so much, Rochak. I believe I'm clearly audible to everyone. I'm audible, right, Rochak?
Yes, you're clearly audible.
Okay, so firstly, starting with how did I become an astronaut trainee and India's youngest astronaut in training, basically. So my journey started with curiosity. This is one skill I would say, or something that you must have in you. So how did it begin? Is I was just watching this movie, Krish. I believe everyone would have watched Krish. So if everyone has watched Krish, you can go to that No Mic channel and just type in yes, so that I know everyone has. Therein we have this Dr. Mehra who is a scientist, and that's when I decided, okay, I was kind of curious to become a scientist on what scientists do, and that seemed cool. So I started working in the direction of becoming a scientist. So what did I do? I just, I was not so good in my academics during my school time, but one thing I did different was I used to read a lot of books, and from that, in my 11th grade, I wrote my very first research paper that was basically on space settlement. How can I settle 20,000 people in space? And I wrote this paper, converted into a black book, and sent it to NASA Ames Space Center. After a couple of months, I received a response saying that it's been selected, and I've been invited to a conference in Los Angeles. So I started my visa procedures and everything. I was pretty much happy because it was something that a kind of dream come true. So I started with the visa procedures and everything, and I come to know that my visa has been denied. So that was a kind of setback or failure, and the very first failure in my journey of getting into astronautics and everything. So it was depressing as well, but I met a couple of people over Twitter and everything during that time, such as one of them was Mike Mongo. So Mike told me that Akshat, don't get depressed. Just start working and don't consider this as a failure, but consider this as a point wherein you can grow even more. So doing that, I started writing even more research papers. And during one of my paper that was based upon re-entry of space vehicle, I came across certain things such as noctilucent clouds and everything. So what are noctilucent clouds? Basically, the clouds that you see currently up there are the stratospheric clouds. And what Project PoSSUM does, they work on the noctilucent clouds, and that's how I got recommended by certain PoSSUM nauts and astronauts in Project PoSSUM. Now, as soon as I got recommended, I went in and I started with my journey as training myself to become a scientist astronaut candidate. Did my G-force training in an extra 300L aircraft, pulled up to 6 or 6.5 Gs on my body, then did my hypoxia chamber training and everything. So that's how everything actually began. Yep, that's it.
So you meant you that's a pretty inspiring and motivating kind of journey you have. I have a question, a follow-up question. What was your first research paper about? The first one that you wrote?
The space settlement one.
Okay, so it was about space settlement. What exactly was it about? Like just a vague brief
Okay,
for everyone
so
here.
sure. So basically, after that, I've written almost 13 plus research papers and published in international conferences and journals. So that kind of sounds kiddish to me now. But it was basically a paper wherein I was planning. It was basically, hypothesis on how could I settle 20,000 people up in space, and, created my own settlement kind of design on AutoCAD softwares, and induced some technologies and everything, such as Li-Fi was one of them, that I could use Li-Fi to get in internet and so on. Otherwise, I had also mentioned aerogel. So if you guys don't know aerogel is basically a material which is so light that it can literally flow towards the flame of a lighter, but it is also so strong that, if you make composite aerogel, you might be able to pick up a car. So I had mentioned the use of aerogel in protecting UV radiations and thermal insulation, basically, for the growth of plants up there in space, and that was one of the key point, and that is the same point on which I, kept on researching, and I've written a research paper recently over the same, and I'm leaving for Dubai in like 15 days to present that paper in the world's biggest conference, that is IAC. So yeah, that is somewhat about my first research paper, space settlement.
That's very interesting. Space settlement research paper, and also all you wrote 13 papers and they're all published on an international level. That's a big achievement. Congratulations, man. And
Yep.
see all the
Thank
people
you
in the
so much.
chat, they are just they're wanting to ask you so many questions. So let's hurry along. So for everyone watching right now, Akshat is also the founder and president of the Mumbai chapter of the National Space Society, USA. So, Akshat, could you talk a little bit about how that came about and what inspired you to start it?
Okay, so basically, currently I'm not the president for NSS. I have departed from NSS, but yeah, I'm the founder for National Space Society Mumbai chapter. And what happened is, after I became, an astronaut in training, and I started training myself basically, I was able to again go to the same conference which I missed, the one that in Los Angeles, but this time it was in Washington in 2018 or 19. So I went to Washington, and there was Jeffrey Notkins, who was the global president for National Space Society. So he met me, and we had a small chat on everything, that how did I miss my opportunity, but how I didn't stop and I kept on working and everything. So he was kind of impressed or happy with my journey or the story. So he offered me that, Akshat, you have been doing many things along the path. So why don't you start your own chapter in Mumbai, because you've got some followers here and there, so you can do it successfully. And that's when I thought that, when I basically started my journey, I started with many problems, kind of financial crisis, lack of guidance and everything. So I decided that, okay, I'll start up a society which will function with no profit. So that's the reason it is a non-profit organization as well. So with no profits, and I'll be able to serve the students and the people via the society, so that I can reach the mass. So that was the basic concept, and we inaugurated it on 15th of December 2019, by the hands of Dr. Ravi Margasayam, the one who has launched Kalpana Chawla and, 700 other astronauts into space. So I invited him from NASA. He came to Mumbai 50 years after, he reached Mumbai, just for this inauguration. So it was a great moment as well. And that was the moment when I had received a letter and the NASA Kennedy Space Center pin from the current associate administrator of NASA, who is astronaut Robert Cabana. So overall, it's been a great time with NSS, National Space Society Mumbai chapter. But yeah, now while functioning as the CTO, there have been increased responsibilities. So I got to take some part out of me.
That's very that's a very good thing. Like this guy, Jeffrey Notkin, right? Isn't he an actor?
Yeah,
Like I heard somewhere about his name that he's an actor on some
yeah.
documentary or something.
He, exactly. He's also
Um,
an actor.
also, someone in the chat said, "Sir, are you a millionaire?" Lol.
No, no, not yet, but yeah, pretty soon you guys can count on me.
Bucket list, bucket life goals, right?
Yeah,
Well,
indeed. There have been many things on my bucket list, out of which one was, I always wish that someone should at least make a documentary on, the story of my life. But when I actually wished for this, I was in my 20s.
Your voice cut out, Akshat.
Then goes short a whole documentary on my life, and that is like a check mark on my bucket list. So yeah, becoming a millionaire or a billionaire comes in the bucket list as well pretty soon.
Well, we all wish you good luck. So also, if you're talking about bucket list, what excites you about space, and is it an item on your bucket list? Like, since you're on that topic, I just think.
Yeah, of course, because my journey has always been kind of unexpected or unpredicted. Because as I mentioned, I have not been so good in my academics, so I scored around 68% in my 10th and 62 in my 12th, but it didn't actually matter to me that much because I have always had this perspective that what you do other than your academics matters. Having a decent score is just fine. So, during all these things that are taking place in my life, there was one incident that took place on a live national TV channel on Mirrors Now. So I was on Mirrors Now talking about Chandrayaan 2, and that is when Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma, the very first Indian citizen who went to space, and I would say the only Indian citizen who has been to space till date. He mentioned that Akshat, you might be the youngest Indian astronaut to be launched from Indian soil. So that was a kind of comment that changed the whole perspective, and I'm totally moving towards the same goal now, that to become an astronaut. So I've been trying hard to kind of get into the Indian astronaut thing.
So
It's always been my thing.
nice, nice. So your bucket list, it has becoming a millionaire, billionaire, and visiting space launched from Indian soil. That's very uh,
Basically, my bucket list consists of many different things because I'm a person, who believes in the thing that we say that you should always be multidisciplinary, because if you specialize in one thing, then you are gonna end up just doing that one thing. But if you're able to, do all the things that are nearby, at least some bits and pieces of everything, you might succeed in many. So currently, I'm not only into the space industry, but I'm also into my pharma industry, wherein we are into manufacturing of medicines and everything. So that's again a company in which I'm a director of. So there are many things in my bucket list.
yes, I agree with you. We should be multidisciplinary and have many options and jack of all trades and master of one. That's something I believe in. Well, someone in the chat asked, "What? How old are you?"
I, considering that I am India's youngest astronaut in training, I'm just 20 years old.
Oh Lord, you're 20 years old. You're just 1 year older than me, guys. He's our equivalent to our age. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
20, and like I just turned 20 this April, so yeah.
Nice, nice. So, before you mentioned you were in a plane and you experienced the what's the word? I experienced multiple G's. So the
Yeah,
effects of zero gravity can take a massive physical toll on astronauts' bodies, right? So
yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about your physical training and how did that 656G feel when you were on that plane?
Okay, so basically for me that was a kind of out of the world experience, because me being from Thane, Mumbai, never seen a two-seater aircraft ever before in my life. I go there in Florida and there's this beautiful extra 300 aircraft which is just in front of me. I was clicking pictures of the aircraft, I still remember, and I just get a call that like a call from a director that you need to get in for your training. And I just was kind of excited. I went inside the aircraft, sat down, got certain instructions over the parachute and the ejection systems and everything, and then we took off. Now during takeoff, of course, I was very excited and a bit scared, I would say, because I had this small sheet of paper wherein they had shown that how our flight profile is going to be, and our flight profile considered of multiple 360-degree turns, vertical 360-degree turns, horizontal 360-degree turns, and every of those things. So during it took off, it was just excitement. We reached in the air, and the instructor is like, "Shah, are you ready?" So I was like, "Okay." Yeah, I don't have any other option. So yeah, I am. And that's when we started doing the maneuvers. We firstly took a 360-degree maneuver at 2 Gs, and then we went up to 4 Gs, and then we ascended up to 6 Gs. So until it was 4 or 5 Gs, I had my phone in my hand, and I was actually shooting the video of me taking 360-degree turns and everything. But as soon as it reached 6 Gs, the intensity kind of increased, because there was this massive force on my chest during we used to go in the upward direction. And as soon as when we used to enter into the zero gravity, I also experienced the zero G force, just for like a second or two, but I could feel how it actually does feel. So overall, it was great. It was just a lot of force on my body, and not only positive G's, but I was also able to take in -2 G's on my body. So it was like +6 and -2. So yeah, it was a wholesome, great experience.
Damn, you like going all the way from 2, 4 to 5, 6, and all the way to 0 G. That would be an outwardly experience and very
Exactly.
scary, I must agree.
Yeah. Basically, it's like best part was while going into the negative G's, because you can literally feel your blood moving from the upward direction to the downward direction and everything. You could feel the motion of your blood. So it was amazing.
Well, I I can only imagine, and the way you explained it, that was very nice. I one day hope I can go into those uh, planes that offer 0 G experience, right? The planes by
Yeah.
what's the company? Boeing, or I don't remember. Slipping my memory.
It was an Oh, you were talking about this. Ah, I just, missed the name. I kind of missed the name. Anyways. Ah,
So well, moving on. And Space Nova, like coming to your edtech startup, you're the CTO there, right? Did you found it?
yeah, yeah.
Just a question, or did you join the team later on, or in the
I joined the team
foundation?
later on after I, quit with NSS. I joined in as the chief technology officer at Spaceonova, because Spaceonova was already a premier education-based company, space education-based company, wherein they were providing all sorts of courses from Python with space application to rocketry, everything. So I joined in as space technology officer, like chief space technology officer, wherein I ensure that we go ahead with practical hands-on projects that are, going to be useful for the Indian space ecosystem.
Well, that's a very that's a massive cap in your feather. And
Yeah,
could you
Rochak,
expand?
before you asking me any question, I have a question for you. Basically, I saw many people who joined in with the name hashtag no sugar. So is it something that you guys have this something like, no sugar thingy, or
Uh,
is just a common
it's
thing?
a couple of days ago. Okay, this is staying from the topic, but just a little detour. A couple of days ago, one of the active members, he started this sugar revolution kind of thing, and he made this kind of cult following, and everyone just joined him, and so everyone put sugar in front of their names, and it's been like that since.
Yeah, because I can see people named Diabetic, and Shravani just changed her name. She changed it from Sugar to
Yes, yes.
Shravani.
I also changed my name. If you noticed, mine was
Yeah,
sugar. Sugar
exactly.
also.
So that's the reason I had to ask you that what's the thing with it?
Yes, is understandable. Well, about your role at Space Nova, like you told us about your role, but what is Space Nova about? Can you tell us about what they do? It's a edtech startup. That's we know, right? You offer training sessions and volunteer experiences, right? So can you expand on it more, a bit more?
Okay, so basically, in Spaceonova, we move ahead with a vision that is by 2025, we wish everyone should be able to be having the resources that were required in pursuing some career in the space industry, and it's basically to make everyone able to learn, create, innovate, and impact. So that is the vision and mission that we go ahead with. Now talking about the courses. It's like, for example, let's take the current ongoing courses such as Rocketry Masterclass or Python with Space Application. So what we do is we ensure that a person who is at a beginner level, he can go from the beginner to moderate or even advanced in just a month's time span. And we teach him with basics, then with the equations, then certain softwares that are required to design your rocket. If you are able to take everything in you properly, then you might be able to build your own rocket by the end of the whole month. So that is the things that we provide. Now in the technology sector, what we do in the research and development is we have different sectors inside Spaceonova itself, such as the astrobiology department, astronomy department, aerospace department, wherein we again have the space robotics, we have rocketry, we have satellite department. So what we do is currently other departments have been writing research papers and everything. The rocketry department is behind building some rockets. Of course, I can't disclose certain great details, but yeah, we have been building a few rockets. We got our own 3D printer, so we started into development of 3D printed model rockets and everything. So yeah, it's been a combination of a great quality education, like space education, with research and development for people who have already who are currently in their undergraduates or who have finished their undergraduate are into masters and everything. So yeah, that's all about it.
Well, yes, that's very interesting. Also, you guys are invited to go and check out the channel. I put his LinkedIn ID in the chat. Also, there are a lot of questions in the chat, and let's move on to the audience questions. Or well, one last question for you from my side, and then we'll move on to the audience's question. With all the experience in this path you have, like you have a lot of experience, obviously, even at this young age. And so, what would be some advice you would give to a student, an aspiring person to make it in this field, like something you want to tell them?
Okay, so basically your voice got cut in between. You mean to say something that I can give as a takeaway from this session?
No. Okay, I'll repeat it.
Yeah.
You have a lot of experience in this P field, right?
Yeah.
At this young age. So, what would you suggest to a person who's just entering this field, a student aspiring to make it as a citizen scientist or astronaut trainee or all the other
Okay.
fields that you have been in?
Okay, so basically there are a couple of things out of which I would like to mention at least two of them.
Your voice is cutting out.
In India, all the student community, we kind of ignore the importance of research papers, and so did I. But after I wrote my very first research paper in 2017 or 18, I understood that okay, this is what is going to give me more and more opportunities. So that's the reason I never stopped. So, firstly, understand how to write papers, learn them, and publish papers, because after you start publishing papers, people understand okay, this is your field of expertise. So for example, tomorrow if you want to apply to some aerospace company, for example even Spaceonova, and you want to apply to the propulsion department, one thing that I would ask as an interviewer is, why should I get you in? Like, what experience you have? You can always mention that you have a paper published, you have this expertise, and you can talk about the real time projects. So first is your research paper writing, second is networking. Utilize LinkedIn as much as possible, because LinkedIn is a tool that is going to provide you with the connections that you require to grow and excel in this industry. For example, I mentioned about Dr. Ravi Margasayam, so who has launched Kalpana Chawla. So I didn't know him personally before, but I met him over LinkedIn. We had a chat, then we came over a Google Meet, and then I invited him over to Mumbai. So the person came from America to Mumbai for inauguration, and we had just met over LinkedIn. So yeah, LinkedIn is a really powerful tool. Learn to utilize it. That's what I would like to tell you. And yes, one last thing: never let your curiosity go down. Like even today, that I am into the industry since 4 years now, I'm still the curious in the same manner as I was in the very beginning. Today also, if there's something that I don't know or there's something that I find cool, I just go out on Google, I go to YouTube, I ask my friends or peers that okay, how do we do this or how can we do that. So stay curious. That's it.
Well, it's a pretty nice message, and I hope I myself personally is inspired by that and agree with every single point you said. So before we move on to the audience questions. There are a couple of questions in the chat which have been buried. Let me just uh, ask you them on the behalf of the audience.
Sure.
So the first one was by Manav Suki Doggo. He's asking, since you have explored a lot of fields simultaneously, what do you think is wrong with mainstream view towards learning and in general education around us? And I assume he's talking about the Indian education meta.
Yeah, I could make that out. Okay, so Mano, basically answering your question, the very first mistake that we make is, the mistake that is made from our end is we wait until we become graduates, we wait until we finish our undergraduate studies. What we should do is rather hustle and find a goal. One thing that I usually prefer to suggest as a giveaway is, even if the education system wouldn't be functioning at its best, like the education system might have been 100 times better, okay, but it isn't. So are we going to stick at that same problem? No, we need to find out certain alternatives. So what are the alternatives is, make one goal, fix a goal that you want to achieve in the next 3 months. Start low, fix a goal. Once you fix the goal, try to achieve it, to try working towards it, and then you will see that those problems don't even matter, like even if the education system isn't functioning as you want or anything. For example, taking my case itself, I am into mechanical engineering, undergraduate student, of course, in Mumbai itself. So I am practically going through the same education system that you are going. I was in a state board college, Maharashtra state board, in my 11th and 12th, but that didn't change anything that I did, right? Because what I did was, we always say think out of the box, but one thing I would like to mention is, rather than thinking out of the box, rather don't keep the box itself. Think wild, think anything that you can think of. That's one thing. If I haven't answered your question, please explore your question more. I would love to answer this question actually, because this is a question that everybody has in their brain, but usually tend not to ask. But yeah, thank you so much. Other questions?
I hope Manav, your question is answered, and you really presented in a beautiful manner, dude. You're right. We should be focusing more on the overall holistic education framework rather than just mugging things up. So one
Yeah.
person in the chat is asking, along with learning theoretically, is space education practical too? I don't know how does that. I mean, I don't understand the question, but it's there. So can you answer it?
Okay, let me just. Who asked the question? Let me. Okay, Meghna,
Meghna.
right?
Yep, Meghna.
Okay, so along with learning theoretically, space education practical too. So yeah, Meghna, space education is, I would say, rather more practical than theoretical, because again, the mistake that we make is we learn things, we try to grab everything and anything that is possible around us. But what we take it in a wrong way is we don't implement. So when I mentioned about the vision statement of Spaceonova, it was learn, create, innovate, and impact. So in that statement, we have a create word, which means implementation. Whatever you learn, if you learn to implement, you would learn it in a better manner. For example, I learned how to make a rocket, and exactly the next day I went down to the shop. I bought a couple of things. I went to Amazon. I ordered potassium nitrate, and I built my own rocket. Of course, it didn't go in a straight flight profile. It kind of didn't fly itself, but at least I tried, I implemented, so I got to learn more. So yeah, space education is more of a practical thing rather than a theory based subject.
Okay, like you built a rocket, model rocket, and you launched it.
Oh, I have launched many model rockets till now, and if this would have been a video session, I would show you. I still have around 13 rocket motors at my home,
Oh, that's oh god.
and even a
You
whole
built them all.
printed model rocket. Yeah, and even a whole
Oh,
3D printed model rocket with the 3D printer I have at my place.
okay. Well, there's a question in the chat, and person who asked it also asked in a very legible manner. Well, so the question is, it must have taken lots of money to start all this. Where did you get all this money? Because it is, some people stop doing things because of money or the financial situation. So
Okay. So herein, of course, my parents helped me because when it comes down to money, of course, I am able to make money right now. But at that time, I was just a 17-year-old kid with zero resources. So I kind of convinced my dad. I didn't have to take a lot of effort because he always believed in me that okay, whatever I'm going to choose is going to be something sensible. So I just told him that I wish to do it. And as I earlier mentioned, we were also going through certain financial crisis, but somehow we were able to accumulate that kind of money, and we paid it off because I knew that this is something that I wish to do and I'm going to get 100 times more returns out of it. And that's what happened. So yeah, it was a kind of investment that I made at that time. People usually invest money in stocks, people usually invest money in real estate, but I have been a person who invests in two things. One is I invest in people and I invest in the future. So I kind of invested in the future, and that pays back real well if you know how to do it.
That's that's. I hope that answered your question. Um,
Of course,
but
I asked, to be really blunt, to answer that, it was my dad who provided me with the funds.
well, so there's a question by Coffee Cat. Did you give JE? That's like
um,
the most generic question ever.
Ha. Okay, this is a question which never anyone, no one has asked me ever. So basically, yeah, I didn't give JEE, but it was since my 8th, ninth, and 10th, I had done my pre foundations for JEE examinations. But in 10th, I realized that okay, if I'm going to contribute 50% or 60% of my time for JEE preparation, another 40% in my boards and pre boards and everything, then wherein there's no time for me to develop. Like, I'm just studying academics, I'm doing nothing else. So that's when I stopped going to the classes. I used to go to my JE preparation classes until my 10th, and in 10th I just stopped all the classes and I planned not to give JE. So yeah, I never gave JE. I wished to though.
Uh, well, you can always pick up question history and solve
Coffee
it.
cat is like, yeah, right decision, thank you so much.
Well, you wouldn't be at this place if you went for JE, right? It would have changed your course of
Indeed,
butterfly.
I would have been maybe
Your voice cut off. Akshat,
into mainstream.
can you repeat that last sentence? Your voice cut off.
I wasn't so good scorer anyway, so I wouldn't have ended in IIT or something. But yeah, I would be doing something, mainstream engineering. That's it. Yep.
Okay. So, Coffee Cat asked another question. You did something out of the box, and so where did you source that courage? Where you got that courage to do something like this, to take the leap? And she also added,
Okay.
"Are you an introvert or extrovert?"
Okay, let me read the question because I don't know. Reading, I have this habit. Okay, you already did something out of the box. I hope rarely of your friends thought about all these. So what courage you got to do something like that? Okay, so firstly, I was an introvert. I was a you know huge introvert. I couldn't speak in front of two people. That was like the maximum people I spoke to, and if there are unknown people, then forget about it. But what I did is I don't know if you guys know about the Chroma stores. So I'm not, it's not a paid ad or something. But then yeah, I used to go to Chroma and I used to speak with the representatives. I used to talk about the the new products that are there, some mobile phones, some headphones, and some that are even not in India. Because I earlier had a YouTube channel of mine that was based on unboxing videos and everything back in my 10th grade. It had around 2,000 followers back then, so subscribers, I believe. Yeah. So I used to go to Chroma stores and talk to them, and that's how I converted myself from completely introvert to completely extrovert. Then talking about how did I gain the courage, as I mentioned, because I was not good in my academics, I had really less friends, and added to that, I was even an introvert, so I didn't actually speak to a lot of people. I just had three friends overall in my school journey, Karthik, Priyansh, and Suraj. So everyone was planning to go in some different way. Like Suraj went into his bachelor's in BBA or business administration. Then Karthik went into commerce, and Priyansh went into CS. So basically, we all were doing different things, and it didn't really matter that what I was doing, because no one actually cared about it. But there, I could see some difference that once I started gaining some progress, achieving different things, I could see the people who didn't talk to me started coming in. So it actually does feel great. So there was nothing about courage, but I just wanted to bring a change in how people look at me. And yeah, that was one thing that actually provided me as a driving force.
So moving on to the people on the stage. So Shah, you can unmute and ask your question. The stage is all yours, please.
अरे लाइक शुक्रिया रोचक जी हमको मौका देने के लिए एंड अक्षत फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हाउ यू डूइंग ब्रो लाइक हाउ बीन योर एक्सपीरियंस इन दिस इवेंट लाइक आई एम जस्ट क्यूरियस टू नो दैट आफ्टर दैट आई वुड आस्क माय क्वेश्चन
अरे तुषार जी एकदम सही बहुत सही लगा एंड आई जस्ट वांटेड टू गो इन योर फ्लो सो आई टुक अप इन हिंदी सो इट वाज रियली ग्रेट एंड आई एम एक्चुअली हैविंग फन answering these questions, because usually what happens is I go in, I give a kind of talk, and there are really less questions at times, so it kind of gets boring. But here, you guys have really creative questions about JE, about courage and friends, so it's getting really interesting. And I'm actually waiting if there are any questions. So it's kind of an interactive session, and I love these kind of interactive sessions. So thank you so much, Tushar, for asking.
yeah, like you're welcome. I hope this is getting recorded. This is a good content. Anyway, Akshat, my question for okay, so let's get back to this 11th standard के अंदर research paper लिखने वाला thing. Like whenever we talk about research papers, a lot of people want to write research paper, but they always have this question in their mind that how to write it on the first place. जो YouTube बताएगा क्या वो सही भी होगा? Will it even get accepted or not? And like what problems will I face? So my question for you is that when you wrote your first research paper on that colonization or like around that topic, what problems did you face?
Okay, the very first problem that I faced is I didn't know how to write a paper. Now, after that, my parents are also not from the science background, so there was no one who can actually tell me कि कैसे लिखना है, क्या करना है, क्या गलत लग रहा है. So what I did is I kind of just presented my concepts, because I was positive that okay, even if my paper is not in the correct format, but my content shall attract the people, and that's what I went ahead with. I didn't give any kind of citation. It was if today when I look at that paper, I'm like, okay, there are multiple errors and I can't call it a research paper, but those people like the concept, which is the reason I got selected. But if you ask me that how are we going to start, कि पहली शुरुआत कैसे करें, so you need to find a question statement. Firstly, आजू बाजू देखो, look around that what is the question statement that you can solve. What is a question statement? Basically a statement that you need to solve. So for example, you can have a question, why can't we build vertical axis wind turbines, for example. Then you start solving this question, and once you solve the question, you have a research paper in your hand. So most important part in a research paper, find question statement, write a perfect abstract, go ahead with the introduction, and then you're almost done. You just need to add in the body, content, and that's it. So it's not a kind of difficult task, it just requires a bit of practice. And if you guys don't know, I have also been taking courses, like private courses other than Spaceonova or NSS or anyone. I've been taking private courses. Follow me on Instagram, Cosmo Akshat, free promotion. So follow me on Instagram and you'll know more about it.
Okay. Interesting. I would say, but कितना पैसा लगता है? Like, I mean, what are the charges of your private lecture, if you can share?
Okay, so basically it's like a month-long course wherein I take these classes every week, 2 days, 1 hour sessions, and by the end of the course I get
Your voice trailed off again. It cut off. Cost.
500 rupees, and that that's it. Yeah.
Your voice cut off in between. If it's possible, can you repeat?
Oh, from where did it cut off?
Right when you said
दो lecture से बाकी है.
Yep.
Okay, so basically, as I mentioned, basically by the end of the sessions, you will have your own research paper published in a journal, and these are like a 1 month course wherein every Saturday, Sunday, 1 hour I take these sessions, and by the as mentioned, so the fees are 3,500 for every student per month, and that's just a 1 month course. So yeah, that's it.
बस 3,500 में हम research paper लिखना सीख जाएंगे. Yes.
Yeah, basically, I'm looking to impact mass by benefiting in some of the projects that I'm doing as well. So those kind of act as the investment for my projects, and people learn how to write papers. So win-win situation for both.
Very interesting. But I like one final question. After this, Shravani can ask her questions. Like, my question for you, Akshat, like one of the final questions is that recently, which thing or which topic did you found very interesting? Like the most recent and new topic which you were like, bro, ये तो मजेदार है यार, इसके बारे में जानना चाहिए. Like, what is that topic? And if you can elaborate a little bit about it.
Okay, there are two topics actually. One is, like it was interesting and everybody would be knowing about it. That was the SpaceX ka, launch, wherein my friend basically from the same mission, Dr. Shah and Proctor, was launched. So that was a very, interesting day because someone I know personally from my own mission is being launched to space by SpaceX. So this was a wholesome moment wherein all of the PoSSUM knots, we came, in a Google Meet, like a Zoom meet, and we live streamed everything. So that was one moment. And second moment was when I realized the importance of my very first research paper. So recently, I got selected in IAC basically for a paper of mine that was on Aero Gel, as I mentioned earlier. So I was running certain simulations over Giant4, that's a radiology software, and I understood that okay, aerogel can completely prevent all of the UV radiations that pass through it. So it won't allow any UV radiations to pass, but it will allow only visible light to pass. Which means that if you make a box of aerogel and if you have a plant inside the box of aerogel and you expose it to the UV radiations, the plant wouldn't be harmed with the UV radiations. Instead, because of the visible light is passing through aerogel, it can even go under the process of photosynthesis. So that was one interesting topic on which I'm still going to research more. So yeah.
Okay. I would say it is very interesting, bro. Like, right, I also got interested. I'm like, okay, let me just read about this a little bit more.
Indeed,
Nice.
it's a great one.
Yeah, like Akshat, bro, like, thank you so much to answer my questions. I hope मैंने bore नहीं किया होगा. Like, I tried my best.
Bilkul nahi, I just love the energy you have in your voice, Tushar.
Tushar, thank you for coming and asking all these questions. And okay, so before we move on to the next audience member will be asking a question. If any of you guys in the audience right now wants to ask him anything, just raise your hand and I'll add you to the stage and you can ask him any questions you want. Yes,
I
Shravani,
can
go
see
ahead.
Coffee Cat already raising hands.
Yes, thank you, Rocha. And Akshat, I can't believe I'm talking with you. So basically, I have two questions. So the first one is here. How did this journey develop you as a person? Like being at PoSSUM, having Alyasa Kassan as your classmate, then having Dr. Ravi sir as a mentor, meeting Shana Pandya and Dr. Zain Protkar. How was this like develop you as a person?
Okay, a really great question, Shravani. So, firstly, finally we are able to talk, so it feels great. Secondly, answering your question, it completely changed me as a person, I would say, because I can still remember I was just talking to a college friend of mine, a day before, and he was just mentioning that how did I completely change from being a complete, as like I never was serious about anything, like whether it be games, whether it be exams, studies, I was never serious about anything. And today, when I see myself, everything that I've been doing, the projects that I've been doing, the things that I've been getting involved with, such as Mercedes-Benz or PoSSUM, knots or anything, that basically just keeps on increasing the sense of responsibility within me. which means everything that I do or every word that I speak that matters. So every time I just need to think 10 times before I do something or before I speak something or before getting into any event. So yeah, overall it's just getting even more fun, but of course there are many restrictions that come across you as you start growing up. And of course, many people are left behind in this process, because as soon as I got into the research paper thing in 2018, I don't remember when was the last time I was able to speak with my college friends, or other than 2 to 3 people, I haven't been even able to connect with any one of those. So yeah, the lifestyle usually gets a lot busy, like working in the day throughout, then working throughout the night, writing research papers, running simulations, handling a whole team, utilizing your leadership qualities. So yeah, it's a lot to do.
Totally agree on your words, Akshat. So the second question is about astronauts in India. As you say that Dr. Rakesh sir must say you might be a next Indian astronaut. But now, for speaking of Gagan mission, ISRO is selecting astronauts from Air Force, or let's be precise, defense, and it is quite valid as they have the resources, and this NASA did the same thing in the early stage. But let a NASA do choose citizen astronauts, or like astronaut in training like you. So when do you think ISRO will take this step and select astronauts who don't have this military background?
I think it shouldn't take a very long time. Of course, I can't give some specific time frame, but looking at the progress that ISRO is making recently, they have mentioned that they are going to fast track the process of Gaganyaan so that they can do it in late 2022 or in early 2023. So, looking at the progress that they are making in spite of this, pandemic that broke out in between, I believe in the next 5 years down the lane, this process should begin. But what I was speaking about when I said that I want to become an Indian astronaut, so you can always ask out for help. Again, here the connections on your network part comes in help. So I have been in touch with many people, even the director for Gaganyaan mission or Mangalyaan mission, all of the directors. So I'm just trying to seek out some way wherein I can at least start my training. And I believe it's not too long before ISRO also starts taking astronauts from the citizens. Maybe max to max 5 years down the lane. Do you want to become an astronaut, Shravani?
Uh, Everyone wants to become an astronaut in their childhood. But yeah, this thing has like been motivated me to study space science further. So yeah,
Surely. Perfect.
you might become Dr. Rakesh Sharma of the Gen Z. Good luck and thanks.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. Like, that's a really big thing. So, yep. Thank you so much.
Shravani, that was really very insightful questions you had there, and really a very big thank you for coming here and asking all these questions to Akshat. And dude, you're really just so humble and gentle and nice with all these questions. And thank you for thank you for everything. So, other people, ask your questions. Ashmi is
Yep.
gonna ask you.
Anyone,
Coffee
any
cat.
questions, rather than typing it on the channel, you guys can, ask me over here, because that kind of feels better than reading the questions. Coffee Cat, I can see question from Coffee Cat. So bring Coffee Cat up rather.
I think she's not. She can use her mic right now. She said that she'll be typing
Oh,
questions.
okay, no worries, no worries. So, okay, the question. So, if any one of your friends from college ask you that he or she is interested in your work and want to get started, what will you suggest to get started? Like, what, according to you, should be the roadmap? Okay, talking about roadmap, as I mentioned, there are a couple of things that go in hand. Firstly, you would have heard this word again and again in this session about research papers. So start writing research paper, prove your existence in the scientific community, go for internship, explore the industry in whatever ways that are possible, do internships, be a part of some space community, some space organizations, whether it be non-profit, whether it be for profit, doesn't matter, until unless you are able to grow in terms of your knowledge and your connections, and you are also able to implement it, you are on the right path. talking about a roadmap, I would suggest searching for different projects that are, in collaboration with big organizations such as ISRO, NASA, SpaceX, and there are many. So, try to look out for them and try to apply there, try to be a part of that mission. Even if you don't win, you would be recognized by the name of that contest. So, that again brings a boom in your networking skills and everything. So, try to do these things and you'll surely be in the right path.
Well, I hope that answers your question, Copycat. Oh, Vivan is asking you a question.
Okay, what are your views regarding Alisa Carson, the youngest girl going in space? Okay, so views, of course, she's a really great person, really great teammate overall. I have known many, like the hypoxia chamber training and stuff about her because everyone keeps on talking about it. But speaking about the youngest person going to space, she is currently, like every one of us are currently aspiring to go to space, and no space agency has yet given any kind of confirmation over it. So, talking about the very youngest going to space, I don't know what to say about it, because if you don't know, I'm also a part of Space Nation, as Rochak mentioned, as a test pilot. So whenever they'll be launching, I might be launched first in their crew, but I can't anytime tell that when I'll be launched. So yeah, overall, she's a great person. I don't know about if she'll be the youngest one to be launched.
So there's a question in the chat. It's a very old question. So they're asking, Rubies are asking you, is it true that you are also working on how to grow plants on Mars without soil? How's that working out? I guess he answered that when he answered Tushar's question about Aero
Yeah,
Gel.
yeah.
Well, okay. And
Basically,
another
you
question.
might be knowing the concept of hydroponics and everything. So if you know the concept of hydroponics, then just utilize the concept of hydroponics, then put up aerogel sheets on the sides. And if you have a doubt on your gravity, because roots require gravity so that they can grow downwards, then remember your centrifuge experiment. So you will be good to go, and I hope you might understand what I mean. Cool. So,
Yes, just a question from my side. If we planned this event to be 1 hour, right? If you don't mind, if you have any other reservations after this event, you can let us know and we can end it. But if you don't, Manav also said a couple of when he asked this question and you were talking about modern rockets, it would be really, really, really a
surely,
big.
surely we can have the questions, no worries.
After the questions, if you joined a voice channel and show us your model rockets, if that's possible, just asking you.
Okay, sure. So, how do I show my model rocket on a voice channel? So, are we
You
allowed to
can
present the video there?
after the event ends, right? After all the questions, you can join the events VC right below, and then you can
Okay,
share your cam, like
surely,
screen
surely.
cam. Yes.
Because, anyways,
So
I'm all set for my next meeting, which is 20 minutes, no, 30 minutes later. So, I'm already in my uniform as well. So, not an issue.
yes. So Tushar also wants to ask another question. Yes, come on stage, Tushar.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yup, loud and clear, Houston.
Super amazing. So, Akshat, like I had this one very small question. If you can answer, that would be great. Like all those people, like so-called prodigies, or like those people who achieve a good amount of things or so-called success in their life at a young age, there is this myth. I'm not sure it's a myth or not, but there's this thing going around that these people, when all of you guys were young, though you smart people, around 11, 12, you were from that point you started focusing on these things. You were like, you were not playing games, you were not enjoying, you were not going to parties, etc., etc. So like my question for you is that, did you also done something like this, that like 100% time on this thing only, this is my breakfast, dinner, lunch, or like you were also doing some fun things at the same time?
Okay, see, that's not at all true. Firstly, that you don't sacrifice things. फिर तो मजा ही क्या रहेगा यार life में. So basically, I still play games. I play table tennis. I go out play football, go play cricket with my friends, and we go partying. So ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं है जो I still remember that I stopped doing. उल्टा आदतें बढ़ गई सारी चीज़ों की. So yeah, there is one thing that you need to dedicate some time. मतलब there was a phase wherein I used to work 14 hours a day, 15 hours a day, but that is for some limited amount of time wherein you have some project ongoing कि भाई ये deadline है इसको achieve करना है, so you have to give that time. And it's not only someone who is willing to achieve something, ये तो कोई भी करता है. अगर तुम लोग के assignments है, तुम्हें पता है कि कल submit करना है, रात भर बैठ के लिखोगे ही ना. So same चीज़ है. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि सब छोड़ दिया, ऐसा संन्यास ले लिया, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है.
Very interesting, I would say. Like संन्यास वाला part, because आधे लोग ले लेते हैं.
नहीं, संन्यास तो हमने कभी नहीं लिया. So you know, that's it.
Yeah.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है.
Like खेलेंगे कभी टेबल टेनिस. Like मैं आऊंगा ना थाने तो फिर.
जरूर
Yes, yes.
कभी भी बोलो. I will surely be there. Table tennis तो पहले.
Table tennis is like best. But anyway, one very small question once again. Rochak, am I allowed to ask?
Yes, go ahead. There's no problem. You can ask.
So thank you so much, mere bhai. So like Akshay, I had this one more question. Whenever we talk about life, career, or anything, there are a lot of problems which a person is facing at that particular moment, and it's not like just one problem. It's like couple of or like hundreds of problems sometimes. Like we never know. So my question for you is that in that list of problems, which problem have you prioritized the most right now at this moment?
ओके, रियली गुड क्वेश्चन. ये ऐसा क्वेश्चन है जो मैंने सोचा था बट कभी ऐसा ध्यान दे के नहीं सोचा. सो talking about problems, there are all sorts of problem in my life, okay, to be really honest. What I have prioritized is, firstly, you need to have your financial independence. So if ever you feel that there are some issues with finances, firstly solve that, because that is a problem that's going to stop you from doing each and everything, because that basically takes away your independence to do something in some manner that you might do even better. Second thing, okay, second thing was these relationship things. ये सारे इससे तो मैं दूर ही रहना चाहता हूँ, बट somehow every one of us falls in it, and हम भी गिर गए थे, फिसल गए थे. So I prioritized it so that I can get again focused. I saw a question from Yashashvi. I not ignored it. I was going to answer it later, but yeah, Yashashvi, there are many kind of distractions. I also had those, but yeah, I kind of was able to come out of it really quickly by tagging along some kind of music. I play guitar myself, so tagging along with some kind of music, or going out playing games and just being around and just focusing more over work. So that's what I did. Talking again, coming back to Tushar's question, financial problems are prioritized. Family is one thing, because once you start working in some sector, you basically invest more of your time in it. So mera aisa hai, if I start working, I sit for the work like 10 hours a day, 11 hours a day in one go, because there is a lot of things to do. And during this time, we particularly miss the time wherein we might have a family time. So that again start creating some problems. So that is one that you need to adjust कि कैसे तो you need to find that time रात में दिन में कभी भी and give it to family. So yeah, these are 3 problems that I prioritize. I don't know if I was able to answer it, Tushar, but जो भी है यही है.
जो भी है यही है. Like that sounded good at least, and I like मजाक नहीं कर रहा, सारे इंजीनियर रिलेट कर पाए वो रिलेशनशिप वाली प्रॉब्लम को. Like that's like relatability in 200 वाला. Like just
लॉकडाउन में लोगों के रिलेशनशिप बने भी है, टूटे. जो सिंगल थे वो डबल हो गए, जो डबल थे वो सिंगल हो गए. सो ऐसा मेरे को तो लगता नहीं है कोई होगा इधर जो रिलेट नहीं कर पाया रहेगा.
I completely agree. And like one word follow-up question to that also. जब भी like you are working on a project, like अच्छा खासा time और focus देके, और like girlfriend का call आता है, यार मुझे वक्त क्यों नहीं दे रहा, तो क्या बोलता है? Like just curious.
मेरा तो उसके वजह से नहीं, बट हाँ, मेरा ब्रेकअप हो गया है, सो मैं सिंगल हूँ अभी. आई एम लाइक एकदम शांति में हूँ मैं. नो ऑफेंस एनी गर्ल इन द चैट, मैं कुछ जनरलाइज नहीं कर रहा हूँ. डोंट टैग मी अप.
Oh my god. अभी इंस्टा स्टोरी आएगी देखो.
Some very interesting questions you're asking there. Well, Shravani is waiting since a long time.
Exactly. Yes. So sorry, माफ कीजिएगा,
Yes.
ज़्यादा वक्त
So,
नहीं लिया तो.
Tusha, sorry to disturb, but I like have a webinar college. So big thing, like you guys have been telling, oh, Akshat has this rocket and all. So I want to tell a bit about it and also want to brag about my own. So there's this company called named Rocketers who provide a kit for model rocketry, and as I can see many of you are like beginner in this, you can just check out and buy one. Also, Spaceonova is taking a rocketry master class on the same, so this was a big thing. And yeah, question to you, Akshat, again. As you all know, Dr. Zane Protkar is a first civilian astronaut, black astronaut to be in space, but before that she was also an analog astronaut. And Akshat, I guess you are also applying for an analog mission, so can you just tell our audience about like what is analog mission?
Okay, so basically, analog missions are missions wherein we, kind of simulate the environment. For example, if I'm in a Mars analog mission, then we'll be simulating the Martian environment and trying out the extravehicular activities, trying to grow food in that kind of environment, trying out the rovers that we have made. And it's basically a kind of isolation mission wherein this 15 days or 45 days you would not be able to speak with the outside world. You can't call your parents and you be like, hey dad, yaad aa rahi hai, nothing like that. You just have to stay with those crewmates and experience that real time what do we say mission, and that's it. You also have limited amount of resources, like you have limited amount of food, limited amount of water, and yeah, you survive with it, you complete your mission, and that's it. You basically get your project report, and then you can further analyze what are the difficulties an astronaut might face in Mars. So that is how we evaluate certain stuff.
That's a lot of information. Pretty interesting analog missions. Well, I also read this article a couple of weeks ago about NASA starting an simulation for people to simulate the environment on Mars for the mission they'll be sending in the future, right?
Sorry, can you come back?
I read somewhere that NASA is accepting applications for this simulated environment mission where they'll simulate the environment of Mars and study the effects of the isolation and everything on the on humans. So
Yeah, that's basically the HERA mission, HERA,
yes, it
Human
was something like
Aviation
that. I
Research
forgot.
Analog. Yeah, but then again, that's only available for American citizens. But there's an option that you can still collaborate with NASA. That is, I forgot the name of the certificate. If you are able to, enter into some analog mission and you get that certificate from NASA or any university, I'll let you know the name of the certificate and I'll put it in the Discord channel. So then you might be working in collaboration, with NASA Ames.
That's
So
pretty
I'll let
nice.
you know what is the certificate's name.
Shavini, thank you for the questions. And well, since we are running a little bit slow on time, it's already well over time, and Akshat has other reservations and meetings. So, Akshat, do you have the time to show us your rocket collection, or
Yeah, sure, no worries. And if anyone has any questions, it's like I guess 8 6. Maybe we can take questions if anyone has any till 8 10 or 8:15, and then I can show you the rocket. That's not a problem.
there was a
Because
question with
I
question by Coffee Cat again.
okay, which class you're in? Oh, is it for Tisha or is it for me?
Uh,
Like,
it's right above there. How your parents feel about your achievements? Well,
oh,
uh, a bit
okay, my
personal.
parents. My parents feel good because it's kind of unexpected for them. Like just imagine you yourself in your school and you're getting this 68% in your 10th and you're just doing nothing. You're not at all serious about anything in your life, and suddenly you come to it. Oh damn, you are accepted. You're invited to some conference which is in collaboration with NASA. So of course they were really happy and shocked. I would say, कि ये क्या हो गया? But yeah, they were really happy, and now they feel really proud of whatever I do, every single thing that I try to gain or achieve. So yeah, they're just happy, I would say. Now it's like they just can't express because yeah, it's been 4 years, so in the very beginning they used to express it as a every single day, but now it's like everything is normalized कि ठीक है कर रहा है.
Well, so putting an end to the session, I have a question for you, like the closing question. So you have a lot of experience, obviously, see, and you know all the problems that you faced, and you had your reasons for picking up this as your career and field of interest. So what are the reasons someone should not take up this field? Like, what are the reasons that you should not get into this field for?
Okay. पहली बार ये पूछा है वापस किसने cool. So the reasons for not taking this field, firstly, if you are not able to dedicate your time to work, because this is a field wherein you'll have to work hard, you'll have to work really really hard and get your hands dirty to get achieve something. That's first thing. Second thing, I would say, unless and until you feel that this is your passion or this is something that you love, actually don't get in, because the space is a place, okay, this rhymes, space is a place wherein you never get a second chance. So you, whatever you do, you can't make mistakes, so you always need to do it with complete perfection. But of course, you can come in, you can try out doing certain internships, understand if space is actually somewhere that you want to go or no. So that's all. There's no specific reason that you shouldn't join space, because currently सारे के सारे fields, in all of the fields we have kind of made many discoveries, but space is actually a place wherein you can still make enormous amounts of discoveries, and who wouldn't like that? So there's no any reason for no one to choose any question, choose going to space. I mean.
Well, that's you answered that really perfectly. So putting an end conclusion to this session, this Q&A with Akshat, and you answered all these questions really gracefully, and thank you for coming and answering all these questions and being good with it all. And I'm really glad you liked it. You said that this is the first time the people are asking you questions actively. And I would like to thank everyone in the chat right now, and everyone in the audience, everyone who joined, left, and everyone who's been an active part of this discussion. Really, really a big thank you to everyone. And if you want to interact more with Akshat and more equally qualified people and amazing people, you can get the Astronomy Squad role. And we have these events every week, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed. And
Thank
I
you
look
so
forward
much.
to hosting more events with you, Akshat.
Perfect. I'll be waiting, and I love the audience here already. So I'll be waiting for getting another invite. I see a question from Tushar. When are you coming back to back in BlueLearn? Whenever I'm invited.
Yes, yes, I'm sure we'll be inviting you a lot of times very soon. So let's join the events
Cool.
VC, and you can show your rocket collection if you have a couple of minutes.
Yeah, sure. So how events
It's
we see?
it's right below. You can click on it and join. Yes, so everyone who's there, you can join. He'll be showing his rocket collection and his engines. So let's go. Join the events VC. I put a link in the chat. Join everyone. It's in the no mic chat right below the event stage. Yes, let's go.